If you're a first grade teacher who wants to start using centers and you're not sure where to begin, your classroom library is the solution. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why it's the perfect first center and how to set it up so kids can work independently while you meet with small groups. By the end of the video, you're going to have 10 different ideas for kids to do at the center and a step-by-step guide for exactly how to introduce this center to your class. So let's get started. Your classroom library is the first center that you should introduce to your class. There's very little prep for you, and it gives kids a chance to practice working independently while doing something that they enjoy. So let's begin with the actual setup of your library. You want to choose a space where you're going to have good lighting, room for a shelf or maybe two with books, something for kids to sit on, maybe a small rug or a cozy chair. It's also a nice idea to have your library near a bulletin board or a wall where you can put things like author study charts or your library rules or directions on how to choose a good book. I liked having my classroom library near the front of the room where I met for a whole group. That's where I would do read alouds, and so having our classroom library near me was nice for easy access to the books that I was going to be reading. So choosing your space is the first thing that you need to plan for. Then once you've chosen your space, the next thing you want to think about is how you're going to make it enticing for the kids. Think about the children's section of Barnes & Noble. What kind of things do they do? You see stuff like soft lighting or twinkle lights, comfy chairs to sit in, or maybe a little plant on the windowsill. The books are displayed so the covers are showing, which makes the kids want to pick them up and look at them. Those are the kinds of things that make kids want to look around, and you can do the same things in your classroom library too. So let's think about what kinds of things should you have in your classroom library. Well, first of all, you want some kind of sign that labels the space. You might hang it on the wall or hang it down on a string from the ceiling. You're going to want lots of books on your bookshelves, and my best recommendation is to sort your books and have them in bins on the shelf. You can sort them by author, by genre, or even by level. In my library, I had a combination of those things. And remember, it takes time to get all of those books. If you're a newer teacher, you may not have access to a lot of books, and that's perfectly fine. It takes years to build a really robust classroom library, but you always have access to your public library, which is helpful until then. Another thing that's nice to have at your classroom library is an open-faced book rack for displaying seasonal books or author study books. If you don't already have one of those, ask your custodian if there's any in storage. They always know where the good furniture is hiding. You want to fill your library with a wide variety of books, including both fiction and nonfiction. Children's magazines and simple poems are also nice to have. And of course, you want to really make it feel like an inviting space, and you're going to need a cozy chair or a beanbag, maybe a little lamp or a stuffed animal to read to. All right, so what do kids do at your classroom library? Well, they can do a lot more than just browse through books. You can have monthly author studies with a poster of the author and a display of their books. They can do partner reading with a friend. They can listen to books that have been recorded. They can read their favorite books to a stuffed animal. They can make simple book reports where kids write the author, the title, and their favorite part. It's nice because it encourages kids to think about what they're reading and maybe look for more books by that author. You can also have sticky notes and pencils at your library where kids can leave a sticky on the front of a book that they really enjoyed, and then they can write why they liked it or even just a smile face to show other kids that it's a good book and that they should look at it too. Another thing kids are doing is learning about how to keep things organized at the library. When you have labels on the books and matching labels on the book bins, they learn how to put books back in the correct place and make sure it's facing forward so that other kids can find the books too. I had some very simple labels that I put on my books, and then I had the matching labels on all the bins. I actually have a whole set of free library book labels, and I'll put the link to them in the description so you can grab those when you're done with the episode. So now, how do you introduce your classroom library to your students? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is gather everybody around the library. Have them sit on the floor where they can see you as you're showing them around. You're going to want to be very explicit in your expectations. Show kids how every book is labeled and that the labels on the books match the labels on the bins. Show kids how all the books are facing forward, they aren't backwards or upside down. You want to show the kids that there are different types of things to read, like books or magazines or poems. Point out the bulletin board and tell them how this is going to change and there's always going to be new and different authors or books highlighted that they might be interested in. In my library, I always had a special seasonal basket of books for different holidays or seasons, and I would change that basket every month. And then point out the extra things at your library too, like pointers or stuffed animals or magic reading glasses. I would not put all those things out at once. You want to space it out and put out new and different things each month to make kids excited to go to the library and see what's new. And so once you've shown the kids around, you need to explain to them that the library is a place to read and look at books. Some of the books they're going to be able to read themselves, and some of the books they'll just look at and tell the story to themselves. Let them know that the majority of time they're at the library, they should be reading and looking at books. They can read to the stuffed animals, but they aren't using them to play house, and the pointers aren't weapons, stuff like that. You also want to show the kids how to choose a book and how to put it back in the correct place. Then you're going to want to choose 2 kids to model the correct library behavior. The rest of the class can watch from their seats while coloring or something simple like that. And then after about 10 minutes, have everybody meet at the carpet and discuss what the kids did right or wrong and make a set of library rules. Practice how to use the library for several days in a row. Choose 2 new kids every day to model and then quickly review the rules. And then once you've practiced this center for several days, you're going to be ready to put your library into your classroom center's rotation. Next week, we're talking about setting up your writing center. So be sure to come back for that. New episodes come out every Wednesday. If this episode was helpful to you, be sure and give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next week, remember to make learning feel like play, and I'll talk to you soon.